Hello guys, welcome to another video and thank you so much for visiting my channel. My name is Natasha, I'm a polyglot, I am fluent in 9 languages, and here on my channel I am usually sharing different language learning stories and tips. But today I decided to make a little different kind of a video and I hope you will like it. As some of you know, I have been living in the US for some time. Some time means a year. It's officially been a year since I have moved here to the US, and before that I'm from Eastern Europe, from Bosnia to be precise, and I have lived in different countries before coming here, so I feel that I finally have right to make one of those videos where people compare US and Europe. In my case, I will only compare US to Eastern Europe because I don't feel that I'm an expert in Western Europe, since I have only traveled there as a tourist and I haven't spent time living there. So I have seen this type of videos all over the internet. They are on all social media, on Instagram especially, and I have also seen some here on YouTube. And I have noticed one thing about them that I want to talk about before I start comparing these two places or these two parts of the world. First one is, the point of this video is not going to be deciding which one is better to live at, and I'm not going to be sharing advantages or disadvantages of living in US or Eastern Europe. I'm just going to share the differences between these two places and the way I see it. So please, if you are either American or Eastern European, do not come to the comments to tell me, oh, go back here or go back there, or we are so much better, because this is not the point of the video. I don't want anyone to think that their country is worse than any other, because I really believe that no country is perfect, and even if there was a perfect country, people would still find a reason to complain about it. So the point of this video is not to decide who is better or what are they better at. This is just a little fun video that I want to share with you guys. And another thing that I want to share before I start is that I'm aware that USA is a huge country, it's very diverse, and two different parts of the US are hard to compare. Eastern Europe also is quite big, in my opinion, and it consists of many different countries with different languages, different cultures, so it's also hard to compare two different Eastern European countries. So in today's video, I will have to do something that I don't like to do, and it is generalizing. Unfortunately, if you want to compare two things, you have to generalize a little bit, so that's what I'm going to do today. But I'm aware that USA is a huge country with so many different places and different cultures. Same applies to Eastern Europe, but today we are going to behave as if everything in US was same and as if Eastern European countries are all the same. So let me share with you the way I see and the differences I see between these two places. The first thing I noticed, or the first difference I noticed between Americans and Eastern Europeans, is the fact that Americans are so much more friendly, they're nicer, they treat other people in a nicer way, and they smile more. Now, this does not mean that they are necessarily better humans. I think there's probably equal amount of good and bad people in every country in the world, but they definitely are nicer to be around. And I know that some people are going to be offended by this, but as a fellow Eastern European, I can say this. So this is something I have noticed way before I even thought I would ever come to the US. I have been meeting Americans all around the world, and the thing that I noticed at first was how friendly they are to everyone. It's completely normal to greet people with a smile. It's completely normal to give someone a compliment for their hair or their outfit or their looks or anything else. That is something that is never going to happen in Eastern Europe. In my year of living here in the US, I have met so many other women who would just give me compliment just like that, even without knowing me, without wanting anything from me. And that has never happened to me in Eastern Europe. Over there, if you like the way someone looks, or if you like something about them, you will be just staring at them with your serious Eastern European face, but you will never compliment them. And this is definitely something that I love so much about US. I also like that Americans are so friendly, and they are smiling more, and they just love being nice to other people. But I also have to say that it was a little bit hard to get used to, because as I told you, I have spent most of my life in Eastern Europe, and I definitely have that character that's very like serious. I don't want to say closed, or I'm not a bad person, I swear, but I was definitely more used to be quiet, to keep to myself, not to talk or to try to talk to strangers, to people I don't know, and I was definitely not used to smiling to other people. I have spent 28 years of my life with completely serious face. I would really only smile with people I know. And now, since I came to the US, I have noticed some changes in my behavior. I started smiling to people I don't know. I would greet everyone with smile now, which I have to say it is a little bit hard to get used to if you're coming from a different culture, but it definitely makes everyone feel better. And this is definitely something that I prefer. I prefer American way of doing things when it comes to this. Another thing is small talk. I have, and you have also probably heard saying, as American as apple pie. I think that saying should be changed to American as small talk. I have never met a nation that loves and enjoys small talk as much as Americans do. And this was definitely my biggest cultural shock when I came here. Where I come from, it's not common to start talking to strangers just like that. You would usually just talk to people you know. It is definitely not common to start a conversation in the elevator or in a store when you're waiting in the line or anywhere else. Here in the US, on the other hand, it's very normal. It's not weird, which was a big surprise to me. I have had situations where people would just start talking to me, and after some time, we would talk as if we knew each other for a long time. And in the beginning, I found it weird, but now it's kind of funny in the way that you can interact with someone and talk about them, about anything, and then you will never see that person again, but you had a nice time sharing a conversation with them. I have to admit, though, that I will probably never be that person that starts conversation with someone they don't know. I will never start small talk, or I will never even ask a question, ask someone I don't know about something. So even if I spend the rest of my life here, I don't think I will ever be American enough to start small talk with someone I don't know. But if someone starts talking to me, I will definitely happily share my opinion with them, or I will just engage in conversation with them, but I will probably never be confident enough to start talking to someone. As I told you, this is very uncommon in Eastern Europe. When I go back there to travel or to visit my family, if someone starts talking to me just like that, I would be really shocked, and I would probably think that they're some kind of weirdo or a freak. But when I'm here in the US, if an American starts talking to me, I'm just going to be very happy to share a conversation with them. Another thing, and this might be a little bit controversial, the difference that I see between US and Eastern Europe, actually I will say whole Europe in this case. I have noticed that it is much better to be a foreigner in the US than it is to be a foreigner in any European country, and now I'm talking about Western Europe as well. I have noted, and this is something that is very, I think, understandable, considering the fact that USA is a country that was basically built by immigrants from all over the world, and it's definitely more common to have immigrant background here in the US than it is in most of Europe. So it is completely normal that Americans are more welcoming of foreigners than Europeans are, even though this is changing a bit these days. But I have to tell you that I have really felt much better being a foreigner here, because people would usually be interested, oh, where are you from? How is your country? Even if they don't know where that country is, they're very interested in learning about the country. I'm sure they forget everything about it later, but they are interested, and I feel they're more welcoming and open-minded when it comes to foreigners. On the other hand, in Europe, whole Europe, and I'm speaking a little bit from my experience and a little bit from experience of other people I know, I think that Europeans are still a little bit closed when it comes. They have a certain wall they want to keep between them and the foreigners that come to their countries. Even if I feel that over there, even if you have been living in any European country for a while, and even if you speak language in a very good, on a very good level, I think that those Europeans would still be like, you're not a member of our society, you speak well, welcome, but we would be happier if you just left. Now, please don't get offended in the case you are one of Europeans that are visiting my channel. I have to say, I'm one of very few lucky people that never had any experience with racism or xenophobia, so I can't complain too much, but this is just something that I feel. Of course, it's subjective, it might not be true, but I definitely feel that it's much better to be a foreigner, an immigrant in the US than it is to be an immigrant in any European country. Another big difference between US and Eastern Europe, and this is a very big one for me and it's definitely influencing my life a lot, is the fact that USA was a country that's built for cars. On the other hand, Eastern Europe and generally Europe, I believe, is built for public transport. It's built for walking. Cities are usually walkable and public transport is easy to use. Here in the US, on the other hand, if you don't have a car and if you don't drive, it's almost like how do you even survive? In this case, I definitely prefer Eastern European or European way of doing things. It might be because I'm just more used to it since I spent most of my life over there and not here, but I just think it's so great to have a city that's walkable. I'm used to being able to leave my home and walk to pretty much any part of town. Even though I'm not from a very small town, I would still be able to walk anywhere. And it is very common to walk everywhere. Here, I feel it's only common to go to the park, or if you're living downtown, that's it. But just walking, just getting out of your house and walking anywhere else in the town is not really common. Also, I really love good public transport. As some of you know, I have lived in Prague in Czech Republic for 5 years, and public transport there is just perfect. In the city or town where I come from, it's also pretty good. And I'm just big believer in good public transport. I find it so easy to just hop on a bus or tram or subway, and in a few minutes you are somewhere else, and then you can get out and you can walk a little bit. I just find it so much easier and more convenient than having a car and having to park and then to do all that. But I believe that after spending a little bit more time here in the US, I will definitely see why I actually do see some advantages of having a car and having your freedom to go wherever you want without having to follow public buses schedule or time. But I definitely think that for your health it's a little bit better if you're living in a walkable city. What I do admire about American way of life when it comes to cars is the fact that all Americans that I have met till now are so comfortable with driving a long distance. For some of them, it takes an hour to get to their workplace and an hour to come back, and they are usually fine with that. Also, USA being such a huge country, you can drive for 5-6 hours and you're still going to be in your state. While in Eastern Europe or Europe in general, you can drive for an hour and be in a different country, which is what I was used to before. So I can definitely tell that I admire American way of being ready to just drive everywhere and drive long distance. On the other hand, I feel that people in Europe are usually, when they have to drive somewhere for long hours, they're usually having to prepare mentally for that, like days ahead. And it's annoying in a way. But Americans have different view on that. And this is definitely something that for me is a little bit hard to get used to, because I loved to walk. I love to walk. I used to walk so much when I lived in Europe, and here I definitely walk less than ever before in my life. So, and when it comes to this, I definitely prefer Eastern European or European way of walking. In every discussion about the differences between US and Eastern Europe or Europe in general, there's always one very controversial topic that pops up, and it's food. Every time I would hear people discussing about the differences between US and Europe, food would be the number one topic, and everyone would complain about how food in the US is full of sugars, full of different additives and chemicals, and it's so unhealthy, and it has a lot of consequences on the health of an average American. While everyone also believes that food in Europe or in Eastern Europe is all clean, natural, homemade, made from scratch, and everyone is healthier and skinnier and so on. Now, food is an important part of my life. I love to eat, I love to cook. I cook every day and I enjoy baking as well. And I can see that this is definitely why is this a hot topic? Now, the way I see it is, years ago when I was meeting people who have spent some time in the US, almost all of them told me, oh, I have gained few pounds. It's so easy to gain weight in the US. Just food is different. You will see if you go someday. Now, I have to say, I have been here for a year and I haven't gained any weight. I'm same as I was pretty much my whole life. So I want to say this. I do notice that there are definitely many more fast food restaurants here in the US than anywhere in the world. Wherever you go, you will see at least 5 different fast food restaurant chains. It's so easy to eat unhealthy here, I feel. And I can definitely, the other thing that I have noticed is that in supermarkets, the aisle with frozen food and pre-made food is much bigger than in my country, for example. So I can definitely see why is it so easy to gain weight here. Fast food is so much more available, unhealthy food is more available. But I can also tell you that it's very easy to not gain weight here. If you don't change your eating habits and if you're used to making your own food, you can do the same in the US. There is nobody is going to force feed you fast food here and make you fat. You have same options as you would have anywhere in Europe, in Eastern Europe. And I don't think that it's any harder here to eat healthy than it is in any other part of the world. Of course, if you're someone who loves fast food, it's definitely going to be harder to control yourself here than it would be in Eastern Europe. In my country, for example, fast food is not that common or that available. So controlling yourself here, if you're a fast food lover, is definitely harder. But if healthy lifestyle or just eating healthy food is important for you, then I don't think that it's harder to do it here in the US than it is in Europe. Of course, if you need to have certain time and time flexibility to prepare your own meals, but normal healthy food and making things from scratch is possible here, same as it is in Europe. So I don't think if you want to eat healthy, you can definitely do it here as well as you would do it in Europe. On the other hand, I have to say that I'm not one of those crazy, obsessed people who check ingredients on everything because I don't plan to live forever. So even if I eat something a little unhealthy, I'm not going to freak out over that. So I have never been walking around the store and checking ingredients on everything I buy. I just don't see why would I waste my life that way. So I don't know if products that you buy here are more unhealthy than same products you would buy in Europe. I have no idea, honestly, and I don't plan to research on that. But I definitely can tell you that if you want to eat healthy, you can do it in any part of the world. And if you want to eat unhealthy, you can also do it everywhere. So if you are preparing to move to the US and you are worried about food, don't be. Nobody is going to force feed you and make you gain, I don't know how many pounds. You will be able to eat pretty much the same as you did in your own country. You just have to put some effort into that. Another very hot topic and a very sad one, I would say, is homelessness. Every time, again, when I see people comparing US and Europe, one of the things that always pops up and is bad for the US is the fact that there are a lot of homeless people here. This is something that I have also noticed, and in this case, I think that Eastern Europe or Europe in general definitely wins this part of the debate, because I have never seen so many homeless people in my life as I have seen during even first month here in California. They're everywhere, and it's very sad to see that. Now, I know that some other parts of the country or some other states are having different, their situation with homelessness is different. I'm in a big city in California and homeless are really everywhere. And I have never seen so many homeless, even in some poor Asian countries that I have visited before as a tourist. Situation here seems to be much worse. And it is really sad to see something like that in any country, but especially in such a developed and rich country as USA is. So when it comes to this sad topic, all those things that you saw online, all those videos of homeless, they're unfortunately true. And it is very sad, and I hope that government or someone will find a solution for that, because it is very sad to have this happen in 21st century. And the last thing I want to compare today when it comes to this US and Eastern Europe discussion is something that is very relevant to my channel, and it is languages. Of course, this is a category where I believe we all know that Europeans will win, because here in the US, I think most of Americans I have met only speak English. On the other hand, if you are coming from Eastern Europe or any other European country, you have no choice. You will have to learn at least one more language other than your native one. So when it comes to being a polyglot, I think Europeans definitely win by a large margin. It's very common to speak at least 2 languages in Europe, in Eastern Europe, and many people speak 3 or 4. And I have also noticed when someone speaks 2 languages in Europe, it's not surprising. Nobody is gonna say how great you are. On the other hand, if you're an American whose native language is English and you speak 1 more language, people will admire you. And on one hand, I cannot blame Americans for that, because their native language is spoken everywhere in the world, and they don't really need to learn anything else, because they know that they don't need it for work, they don't need it for traveling. Wherever they go, someone will speak their native language, so it's not really motivating to learn a new one. They don't need it, so most of people, why would they even do it? Why would they even do that? On the other hand, if you're coming from a small European country and your native language is spoken by like 10 people, or joking, a few million people, if you want to do anything in your life, you will have to learn at least 1 language. So Europe is much more motivating of environment there is going to motivate you to learn new languages, and you will have to do that. So it's completely understandable and logical that Europeans are better polyglots than Americans usually are. However, I was hoping when I was coming to the US, knowing that it's country built by immigrants and most of people here have some immigrant background, I was hoping that most of them would actually speak the language of their great-grandparents or whoever came here first. But I noticed that that's actually not that common as I first thought. There are many, even first generation or second generation immigrants, who don't speak the language of their parents because their parents chose not to teach them, maybe thinking that they will adapt or fit in better into new society if they only spoke English. And this is something that I find very sad. I think speaking 1 language can never be better than speaking 2 or 3 or 5. And I feel it's so sad that you have to ignore the language of your ancestors in order to fit into new society. So it would definitely be nice to see more languages being spoken here. However, as I said, I can't blame Americans for only speaking English. If my native language, Serbian, was spoken all around the world, I would probably never learn anything else, so I would only speak Serbian. But in this category, I have to say that Europeans or Eastern Europeans definitely win. So guys, that was it for today. I have compared some things or some differences that I have noticed right away when coming here to the US from Eastern Europe. Of course, there are many more differences, but this video would last too long and I know nobody would watch it till the end. So these are just some most important ones that you immediately see when you come to the US as an Eastern European. Please let me know in the comments, what do you think? Have you ever been to the US, or where are you from? I don't even know where are you guys from. So let me know in the comments, where are you from and what do you think are the biggest differences between US and Europe? And please, one more time, I was not trying to decide who is the best or who lives the best life. This was just a little fun video, and I always say that the world would be a very boring place if all countries were same, if all cultures were same. So don't fight over who is the best. This was just made for fun. Thank you so much for watching my videos, and see you soon.